Welcome to Spenny and the Nets, episode 238. I'm your host, Spen Harris. For the first time in a long time, Nets fans, let me tell you, I am somewhat excited about the future of this Nets team. Haven't been able to say that for a while. Do I have faith in Sean Marks? No. I mean, I don't have faith in Sean Marks to put together a contender. I don't have faith in Sean Marks to be our general manager eventually when we become successful again in the East. I think that'll be somebody else. But I will give Sean Marks credit. Right now, he seems to have hit on at least 3 out of 5 of these picks. Now, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the Nets' last 3 games, starting with the win over the Hornets on Monday night, 116-103. First win at home for your Brooklyn Nets this year. And boy, oh boy, was it a fun one. One of the more entertaining Nets games that we've been able to watch in recent memory. Why is that? Because not only did Michael Porter Jr. have 35 points and just absolutely dominate in a game with LaMelo Ball on the other team, Con Knipples on that team, Miles Bridges, who's been around the way for a while. Michael Porter Jr. was the best player in that game last night. And there's not a lot of games this year, I think, that you can say that he's the best player on the floor, but he was. He was unstoppable. 35 points, 7 boards, 4 assists for MPJ. Noah Clowney, young guy, few years in the league. We're starting to see the transformation into a legitimate starting power forward in the league. 18 points for him and a nasty fourth quarter throwdown dunk over Cal Brenner on Charlotte. That dunk I thought was going to be the dunk of the night. And then shortly thereafter, we had another dunk that I'll talk about in a second. But Noah Clowney, he's having a really, really strong year. 12 points a game, 3.5 rebounds a game on 40.8% from the field. He's 39% from three in his last 10 games. For the regular season this year, he's 33.6% from three. So it's nice to see those numbers up a little bit. And over the last 10 games, he's averaging 16.7 points per game. So I know he got off to a rocky start, and I was ready to kind of crucify Sean Marks for that draft pick. But Noah Clowney, man, the one thing that I'd like to see him do more of, I'd like to see him just grab more rebounds. He only had 2 rebounds in this one, but 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from three, 4 of 4 from the line. Strong performance from Noah Clowney. And that was really it in terms of, you want to call them the veterans on this team. Obviously, Clowney's still a young player, but I believe he's in his 3rd year in the league. Outside of that, no other veteran really wowed me. Tyrese Martin had 5. You had Zaire Williams came in. He hit a 3, had 6 boards off the bench, and then Sharp with 6 points off the bench as well. 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Day'Ron Sharp has not had a good season up to this point. I know this is going to be a positive moment where I talk about the youth for Brooklyn, but every time Sharp's in there, he looks a little bit lost offensively. He doesn't look super strong with the ball in his hands. Um, you know, Thought I'd see a little bit more from him this year due to the fact that we are seeing Nick Claxton play better than last year, but haven't seen that same Day'Ron Sharp, that guy who just has outperformed Claxton in years past. All right, let's get to the rookies. I got to talk about these guys. We're going to start with Danny Wolf. Oh, I'm sorry. I left out one veteran, Nick Claxton, 13 points, 11 rebounds. He hit a 3-pointer, had some nice plays early on. Claxton's been playing really, really well this year. 13.6 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game. In his last 10, like Clowney, he's up to 16.7. I'm sorry. In his last 10, it's a little bit lower. The 16.7% was his 3-point field goal percentage. 12.6 points per game in his last 10, but nice to see him back at that 13 number yesterday. He had 11 boards, 6 assists for Claxton, so nice outing for Nick Claxton. Okay, let's talk about the youth for this Brooklyn Nets team. We are going to start with Danny Wolf. Guys, Danny Wolf, since he's starting to get real minutes in the NBA, he looks like a legitimate NBA player. There is a fluidity, a smoothness to his game that you cannot teach. All right? Even though he only had 10 points in this one, he had 7 rebounds. He had 1 assist in 19 minutes. And one of the most disgusting posterizations I've seen from a rookie in recent memory, just absolutely yammed it on Miles Bridges' head. One of the best moments I think we've had as Nets fans in years was that dunk. His IQ, he might have the highest IQ on the team right now. Really smart, intelligent player. Obviously, he's not the most athletic guy on the court. He's never going to be. He's not the quickest, but he knows how to play the game of basketball. He can hit the three. He can use his body. He can contort his motions to get to the rim and make the tough layup. He can hit the mid-range shot. He's starting to remind me of someone. And I'm not going to say that person's name because it would be disrespectful to that player who happens to be a multiple time MVP and a champion. And we're going to get to the game against Milwaukee, which he had 22. But boy, oh boy, when he steps on that court for the Brooklyn Nets, there is a certain swag, a certain aura, a certain confidence that the rest of this team plays with when they're playing with Danny Wolf. He's going to make the right basketball play 10 times out of 10. And what I was told by someone who was an avid Michigan fan while he was there, once his usage goes up, his turnovers might go up as well. But I'll tell you this, he wasn't playing with NBA level talent at Michigan. It's different when you're in college. I get it. You try to force some things that might not be there. He is playing with legitimate NBA players on one of the worst teams in the NBA right now. But I definitely saw what the future could be for Danny Wolf, and I'm fucking excited. So he wowed me more than anyone in this game, and he finished with 10 points. Let's get to Jaeger Dioman. Jaeger Dioman. I'm still getting used to saying his name. It's a tough name to say. Jaeger Dioman, 9 points. Not a great shooting night for Jaeger. He had 4 assists in this one. He was, what were his numbers? I'm only seeing, oh, here we go. Jaeger Dioman was 4 of 12 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3-point range, 4 assists. He did have a nice steal, 2 blocks. Here's what I want to say about Dioman. I want to see him be more consistent. I think a guy like Con Knippel, who had 18 points in this one, and he's averaging 18 points a game for the Hornets, that's a guy that I want to see Jaeger turn into. He sometimes gets very narrow-sighted. And what I mean by that is, in the beginning of his NBA career, I thought he was being very passive. Every time he touched the ball, he's quick to pass it. He wasn't looking to shoot. Then he has moments where he tries to go takeover mode a little bit too much. There were a few moments in this game where MPJ was calling for it. Jaeger ended up shooting the shot, missing. MPJ looked frustrated. Again, Michael Porter Jr. had 35 points in this one, so you might want to get him the ball. There was a moment where Jaeger Dioman was on the break. Michael Porter Jr. was out in front of him. It was an easy layup. Jaeger chose to keep it, take it to the rim, and he got stuffed. I get it. He's a number 8 pick. There's a lot of pressure on him. I want him to make that right basketball play more so than not. Sometimes it's pulling up and shooting. Sometimes it's passing to the wide open guy ahead of the pack. And then later there was a moment where Michael Porter Jr. stole it and he gave it to a wide open Dioman on the fast break, and Jaeger finished with the dunk. So trust your instincts, make the right play. That's all. I just got to see more consistency from him. The thing I loved from Danny Wolf is Danny Wolf does not need to score to have an impact on the game. Like he's gonna find the open guy. He can rebound the ball. Defensively, he's limited, but there's that IQ that I was told Jaeger does have, and I just want to see it more often. Again, the shooting, it's gonna come and go. He's gonna have nights where he goes 4 of 12, and he's gonna have nights where he goes 9 of 12. But I want to see more of those right basketball plays, making the right read a little bit more. That's all I'm looking for from Jaeger. I'm not worried about him. Again, like what I've seen so far, just keep it a little bit more consistent. Drake Powell. Oh, I'm sorry. And there was a comparison, a player comp that I saw with Jaeger. I can't unsee. I forget uh, the Twitter account that posted this, but Hidu Turkoglu, guy on the Magic who made a living out of isolation basketball, pick and rolls with Dwight Howard, who's always making the right read. He can hit the three, he can hit the step back, he can take it to the rim. He was tall. Hugh Turkoglu, I believe, was 6'9" or 6'10". You look at Jaeger Dioman. Jaeger Dioman has that 6'8" frame. He bulks up a little bit. I couldn't unsee that player comp. So kudos to whoever that posted. I apologize for not crediting them. Um, let's move on. Drake Powell, 10 points, 4 dimes, 3 steals. I think it's disrespectful to refer to a guy like Drake Powell, this point in his career, as a 3-and-D guy. He's way more than a 3-and-D guy. He can handle the ball. He can be our point guard if we need. He can play the wing. He's versatile. The one guy that reminds me, or I guess Powell reminds me of, and he'd have to really improve his handle and his sort of just one-on-one scoring ability for him to even like get close to the stratosphere. But I do see a little bit of Donovan Mitchell in Drake Powell's game. He's shifty. He's 6'5", so he's not short. I believe Mitchell's around 6'4", 6'5". That like I can see that kind of game and just the way that Powell moves defensively. He's already a stud. I already see him as maybe the best defender on this team. Him and Claxton are probably neck and neck if I think about it. But really impressed from what I saw from Drake Powell in this win against the Hornets. Him, Yeoman, and Danny Wolf, those are the three guys who I think Sean Marks and the rest of this Nets fan base will look back and say, I think we nailed those picks. Now we get to the two players, the two rooks, that jury's still out on these guys. Ben Suraf, 7 points, still can't shoot. Suraf took 7 3-pointers. He hit one of them. And the one he hit, he kind of let out this finally sigh of relief moment. It worries me a little bit. It does, because it's not like he's the quickest player on the court, rarely pushes the ball up. He can take it to the rack a little bit. He's got some okay finishing, ability around the rim. And then in terms of his wraparound pass, like he loves to take it down to the rim and then wrap around to the guy on baseline. Outside of that, I'm not seeing the vision. I'm not seeing, the hype around what I heard about taking this guy right after Drake Powell at 23 in the first round. I need to see him dominate more in the G League and really improve that shot before I can envision him as a future piece of this Nets organization. If you want to talk about it, like he started the year, didn't play well, gets demoted to the G League. This is now his second kind of run at the NBA at the big time, and I'm still not seeing it yet from him. Jury's still out, but I need to see him dominate the G League. I think he's going to spend a lot of time there this year, and we'll see if he can improve that jump shot. If he can, it's going to be tough for him to have a role on this team in the near future. And then Nolan Traore wasn't in this game, but I do want to talk about him for a second. I'm excited to see him get his second stint with the Nets. I think, like Saraf, he's going to have to play a lot in the G League. He's going to have to build that confidence. I actually think my stock for Nolan Traore is a little bit higher than Ben Suraf, just the fact that Traore can shoot the ball a little bit. But he's doing his thing in Long Island, and I'm really excited to see when the Nets decide to call him back up. So those are my takeaways from this win. Charlotte's not a good basketball team right now. They're 6-15. They're 1-9 on the road. I think LaMelo Ball is probably going to be moved. He finished with 12 points in this one and 14 assists. Con Knippel was the high man for Charlotte with 18. They just don't look like a good basketball team. They're going to have to make some. So look, they have some nice young pieces. Obviously, you like Con Knippel's game. Ryan Kalbrenner looks like a starting center in this league. It's funny. I saw that Mason Plumlee's on the roster, and I think of Kalbrenner as kind of like that sort of reliable starting center in the league, like Mason Plumlee was for years. He's going to be around the rim. He's going to get you boards. But aside from those two guys, the Hornets have a lot of work to do. Um, all right, let's move on. We go to the game on Friday night. Sixers 115, Nets 103. If these last two games were Danny Wolf's breakout games, this Sixers game was Jaeger Joman's breakout game. He finished this ball game with 23 points, a career high for him, 5 of 14 from three, which is pretty bad, but a lot of those makes came in the second half. I'm not sure he had a point before halftime. So these 23 points might be in the second half. And I believe he had 17 or 18 in that fourth quarter. He finished 8 of 18 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal for Jaeger Joman. It was nice to see him find a rhythm, go on that mini run in the fourth. And this is what Nets fans have wanted to see. We want to see the aggression. We want to see him getting shots up, making the right read. This was a really strong game for him, and it was nice to see him break out finally. But again, I just want to see more consistency from him. The fact that he didn't do really much in the first half, and this breakout game kind of happened in the second half. Like, kudos to him for sticking with it. I want to see it done for a full game. That's just me. I want to see it done for a season. So shout out to him. This was a nice game. Noah Clowney, decent one, decent game. 16 points, 7 rebounds for Clowney. Claxton had 12 and 6, right around his season average. And then Tyrese Martin had 16 points. Shout out to Tyrese Martin. Guy barely made the roster. You know, him and Jalen Wilson were borderline getting cut. They make the team. And Tyrese Martin has made every minute of his season count so far. He constantly, when he's out there, looks like the second or third best net on the court. He can hit the three. He can take it to the rack. He absolutely cooked. I think it was Giannis in that second game, but he's a nice player. Like if it's not for the Nets, Tyrese Martin will be a contributor for another team in the league. He's a tall player. How tall is Tyrese Martin? I want to see his height. Tyrese Martin's 6'6". The way he plays, he looks like he's 6'9", 6'10". He's got a long frame. Just really impressed with what I've seen from him, not only scoring the basketball, but passing the basketball. 16 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds off the bench for Tyrese Martin. Terrence Mann had 14 points in this one. He was 5 of 9 from the field. And that was really it. Powell came in, gave you 4 off the bench. 5 points for Danny Wolf, all from the free throw line. He went to the line 6 times. Kudos to Philly. Philly's a fun story this year. Obviously, it's sad what's happening with Joel Embiid. His body's kind of failing him. But Tyrese Maxey's been a bona fide stud. 22 for Maxey in this one. Quentin Grimes finished with 19. You had Paul George with 14 points as he continues to try to find his sea legs and where he fits in this Philadelphia roster. And then Dominic Barlow, 10 points for him, 10 rebounds for Dominic Barlow, local guy from New Jersey. Fun story. I went to a bar a few months ago with my friend. We were unfamiliar with Dominic Barlow's game. We saw there was a jersey hanging at the bar, and the owner told us, hey, he's a local kid, played high school ball in New Jersey. So shout out to Dominic Barlow. Love to see him doing his thing with the Sixers. Jared McCain came off the bench in this one, 20 points for McCain, 5 steals. It's wild. The 76ers have, when VJ Edgecombe comes back, they have 4 legitimate starting guards in Maxey, Grimes, McCain, and Edgecombe. So going to be interesting to see how they kind of distribute those minutes over there. Bona had 13 off the bench for the Sixers. This wasn't really a close basketball game. They outscored us in almost every quarter, aside from the third where we outscored them by 3. Other than that, this was pretty much a dog walk for the Sixers. They absolutely dog walked the Nets. 115-103 was the final. And this was an NBA Cup game. So shout out to the Nets, not doing super well in the Cup. We move on to the Saturday game. The Bucks 116, Nets 99. I watched this game and I wasn't even looking at the stats. I just thought that This was one of the easiest games for Giannis Antetokounmpo I'd ever seen in my life. And if you look at the stats, he had 29 points. He was 12 of 15 from the field, 4 of 8 from the line, 8 rebounds in 19 minutes. He absolutely filled the stat sheet. 2 steals, 3 offensive rebounds for him. Yeah, I mean, against elite talent, the Nets are a get right game. So the Bucks needed to get right. They're not. I'm sorry. What is their record right now? The Milwaukee Bucks are currently 9-13. They're fourth in the Central Division. They're not having a great season. Miles Turner has not been the guy that they envisioned when they signed him. He only had 10 points in this one, but yeah, all Bucks starters were in double figures. Two guys off the bench in Kuzma and Portis finished with 11 and 13 respectfully. Just an overall domination from the Milwaukee Bucks. But there were a few bright spots, and the one bright spot that we got to talk about, Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf comes in off the bench, really gets his first significant time in the NBA. You had Michael Porter Jr. out for rest, so he wasn't playing. Danny Wolf takes some of those minutes and he puts up 22 points, 8 of 16 from the field, 5 of 9 from three, 1 of 1 from the line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists in 30 minutes. Uh, this was his coming out party. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, had to question, can a guy who's that thick, I'm gonna call him thick, that thick, not the quickest guy in the room, not the most athletic, can a guy like that succeed in the NBA? And this was the perfect case study. The answer is yes. I mean, obviously we've seen it with Jokic, but Jokic is an outlier, right? Those guys, Nikola Jokic's don't really exist. You don't have a lot of guys who move like that and just absolutely dominate in the NBA. I'm not saying that Danny Wolf is that. I am saying that a guy who doesn't move that quick, a guy who's built a little bigger, finished with 22 points, and he can shoot the ball. That's another thing I might have overlooked in my assessment of Danny Wolf. His stroke is pure. When he shoots that thing, even if he misses, it fucking looks pretty. So shout out to Danny Wolf. Really nice game for him. No Jaeger Joman in this game. Saraf played. Saraf actually played pretty well. 10 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from three, 7 assists. Those are the stat lines that you want to see from him in his rookie season, 29 minutes. I don't think that's crazy to do. If you're gonna play for close to 30 minutes, give me double digits, give me close to 7 or 8 assists, and 3 turnovers in this one. I get it for Ben Saraf, but yeah, this was a much more productive and better game for him than in recent memory. And if you're only going to take 4 3-pointers and you make 2, I'm okay with that. Like even if you make 1, but that next game, that I talked about earlier, where he goes 1 of 7, you can't have that. You can't have that too many times because then teams are going to start to play off you, and it's going to fuck with your mental health. And you saw that in that win against Charlotte where he just couldn't hit shit and they kept letting him shoot, and then finally he hit one. So kudos to Ben Saraf. I think this was actually his best game as an NBA pro. Jalen Wilson had 13 off the bench. Nice game for Jalen Wilson. He's got to get him when he can, because once guys start to get healthy, there are not going to be too many minutes for Jalen Wilson on this roster. And that was really it. Not much more to say about this game. Yeah, similar to Philly, just an overall dominating performance by Milwaukee. All right. That kind of covers everything in terms of the Nets youth, but I will say this. I am starting to see the vision that Sean Marks has laid out for these 5 guys. I am. I do. The one I really don't see it with Saraf and Traore. The jury's still out on him, but 3 out of 5. That's what he's going for. He wants to hit on at least 2 or 3. And right now, 3 guys look like legitimate NBA players. Danny Wolf, Drake Powell, and Jaeger Joman all look like they can have long careers in the NBA right now. So we can knock Sean Marks for everything up to this point. Owner Joe Tsai and Sean Marks agreed to use all 5 of these picks. If you hit on more than 50% of those picks, it's going to look pretty good for your future. That's all I got to say about the rookies, but I'm excited for what's to come. All right. Two quick segments, then we're going to close out. This segment is called Reunited and It Feels So Good. I saw a picture posted by one Skip Bayless, I believe it was, Stephen A. It was one of the two. They had dinner. And you know who joined them? Skip's wife, Ernestine. But why is that significant? For those who aren't old enough to remember, Stephen, at one point in our childhoods, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were the two hottest names. They were the hottest duo on sports talk TV. Every single kid would go home from high school, middle school, and watch Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless debate on First Take for, I think the show was a half an hour, and you were glued to your TV. There was nothing more electric than watching Skip Bayless and Stephen A. go at it. Why'd they break up? Skip Bayless got offered more money from Fox. He left, and that was it. And Stephen A. Smith became a mega huge movie star in the sports world. Skip Bayless made his money with Fox. But they went out to dinner recently, and it was just so fucking nostalgic to see those guys. They are the most entertaining sports talk duo ever on television, in my opinion. So it warmed my heart to see those guys back together. Really, really nice image. And then they took a picture with Ernestine, who Skip is just famous for talking about Ernestine. He always talks about his wife. And that's true love, man. If you have a wife and you're not talking about her all the time, you're doing something wrong. All right. Next segment. I call this segment Beef. It's a bit older, but earlier last week, former net, and this is why this is relevant to the podcast, Kenyon Martin responded to, I forget who started it, but him and Draymond Green essentially called each other out. Draymond Green called Kmart out on his podcast and vice versa. Draymond basically, I'm paraphrasing here, Kmart doesn't know about being a champion. He wasn't really ever that dude. These are things that Draymond said. Kmart fired back at him like, dude, I actually was that dude. I was the first pick out of Cincinnati. I was the leading scorer on the Nets. I wasn't like Dray. I think, and then also Kmart fired back at Draymond that he was a glorified role player, and if he didn't play with guys like Curry and Clay and KD, he wouldn't have been anything. Um, I think it's crazy when former NBA players, I guess one's former, one's current, but guys try to bring each other down. Kenyon Martin was great, was elite in his respective time period with the or the New Jersey Nets. Did he average a million points per game? No. That wasn't really his game, but he was the toughest dude on a team that went to the finals back to back years. Defensively, he was the anchor for those Nets teams. I mean, he literally got everyone in place. I know Kidd got the accolades, Jay Kidd, but Martin was that guy who was the last line of defense. Like, I love Jason Collins and Todd McCullough. Those guys were not the rim protectors that Kenyon Martin was. And then in terms of offensive, like, yeah, Kmart was limited, but don't get it twisted. Kenyon Martin was a stud for the New Jersey Nets. And when he left, and obviously they got Vince Carter and tried to build around Kidd and Carter, those Nets teams were never the same. They lost a really big piece of what made them Eastern Conference champions in '01 and '02, or '02 and '03. So, you know, for Draymond to sit here and disrespect Kenyon Martin's game, like go back and watch tape. Kmart was a beast. And for Kenyon Martin to call Draymond a glorified role player, like it is what it is. I don't necessarily think it's he shouldn't have fired back at him like that, but he's got a forum, he's got a platform, he's going to stick up for himself. I would never refer to Draymond Green as a role player. I don't think Draymond Green's significance for those Warriors championship teams, I don't know if they were just as important as, say, Steph, Clay, and KD, but he's right there. I mean, he's part of it, and he is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. He is. What he did on those Warriors teams, defensively, offensively, he would come through for them when they needed him to, rebounding the ball, being that guy who was the defensive anchor for the Warriors. To call him a role player, it's just disrespectful to Draymond Green. Draymond Green, in another lifetime, could have been an all-star. And maybe if he did play for a team in which he was the number one option, maybe his scoring numbers would be different. I don't know, but these guys should respect each other's games. I mean, Kenyon Martin, all-time net great. Draymond Green, all-time Warriors great. What's beef? They should squash it. Because at the end of the day, I actually think these two guys, their approach to the game is similar. They're never going to get dogged by somebody. They're never going to get disrespected without saying their piece. Two of the toughest, undersized big men for all intents and purposes. I think Draymond's like 6'7", 6'8". Kenya Martin was a 6'9" power forward. He wasn't the tallest guy in the world. But yeah, and I'm gonna side with my guy who played for the Nets. I'm gonna side with Kenyon Martin. Like he was that dude when he was in New Jersey, and maybe his career didn't pan out the way people and probably himself thought it would. But no, don't get it twisted. Kenyon Martin was on the receiving end of a lot of those J. Kidd alley-oops, and he can also create for himself offensively when he needed to. All right. Fun episode, solo episode. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Spenny and the Nets, episode 238. Be excited for the future because for the first time in a long time, we have some guys who might legitimately make this organization respectful again. And it's been a while. And these guys aren't going to be running the organization like we've had in years past. That's the last thing I'll say. Thank you guys for listening and go Nets.